authentically peculiar, authentically peculiar, authentically peculiar.
Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. There you go. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. This is the first season, the 5th episode, and I am so excited to have one of my own babies. She is not biologically mine, y'all. I don't want y'all to get twisted. I got a whole bunch of babies. All right. But here before me, I met this young lady at the Veterans Crisis Line, and it was so funny because I was following her on Facebook, and they were asking a question about following other counselors and stuff on Facebook. And I was like, I follow somebody named Shae Ivie that knows a lot of stuff. And she said, oh, that's me. And we have been connected ever since. Shae is a licensed professional counselor who specializes in trauma. As a trauma expert, she has been in the field for 10 years. She has a BS in psychology, double masters, one in psychology and one in counseling. Yeah, she's smart, y'all. She primarily serves women who struggle with past childhood trauma, people pleasing, anxiety, and stress. She invites the body into talk therapy to address inner healing and to assist individuals in reaching emotional freedom through various somatic techniques. I'll have her to explain some somatic techniques. Shae strives to disrupt generational cycles of trauma to build healthier individuals, their families, and communities. Outside of work, because all work and no play makes you boring. As a trauma therapist, Shae enjoys meditation, yoga, reading, super Marvel fan, discovering new foodie spots, rest, and time with her beautiful family. So without further ado, I bring forward Shae Ivie Williams, LPC. Welcome, welcome, and welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here as well.
Good. I'm excited to have you. You know, we often talk a lot about just different things that we enjoy doing and talking about, especially with helping others to heal. And both of us have taken on the journey of working with individuals with trauma, specifically childhood trauma. And you've gone on and got all kind of certifications and stuff. I'm lagging in that department, but you've gone on to do that, and you're utilizing that to break the bonds of trauma. Tell me this, what actually got you started with wanting to focus on trauma therapy?
Woo! Let me see if I can sum it up. So, I started off in the mental health field around 2012, actually driving house to house and in the community. So I just thought I was like, I just want to help people. So that was where I was like, I just want to help people. Realized I got the wrong degree. Thought I was going to do something with the other degree. Got the wrong degree, went back to school. And I was like, I want to be a therapist so that I can help these people. Because what I was seeing is I was a paraprofessional teaching them skill work. And I was seeing similar stories with kids and adults. Primarily, the adults were telling me a lot of things about how their families, things were happening to them as children, and their families knew, but they just swept it under the rug, kept sweeping it under the rug. And I just was like, wow, like this was breaking my heart, these stories. And the main thing they kept telling me is that just the talk therapy wasn't helping. And the pain of the issues were still there. And so I kind of held that as a pin mark in my journey. But then when I got into school, I had I had a classmates say, take trauma, take trauma, take trauma. And I never got around to taking the course, but I did get around to taking like a little extra course for some CEUs after I graduated. And the light bulb went off when the guy said, trauma is held in the body. And I was just like, every time I say that, I get goosebumps.
Because I don't realize how much they hold trauma in their bodies and how it actually leads to things like high blood pressure, diabetes, anxiety, and stress. And how we keep being told, especially in the Black community, oh, girl, that ain't nothing. Go about your business. So when you get the goosebumps as you talk about trauma being held in your body, tell me about that. What is going on when you have to talk to people about letting that go?
Oh, that's a lot, because it's help. When I tell people this, I have to reorient them to this. For many people, a new idea of how trauma works within our bodies, because people, you know, are used to traditional talk therapy. So I'm like, no, you have to get in the body and actually feel the emotion, sit with the emotion, because the way trauma is stored, it's stored through our five senses in our, I believe it's the amygdala, where it stores all these senses, all these memories. And so I tell people my funny Burger King story, that when we first moved to Georgia from Germany, my dad saw Burger King on sale. And McDonald's. And he was like, it's cheap, so we're going to buy it. Because coming from Germany, it was very expensive. McDonald's was something we never really got. And so my dad was like, we're going to eat McDonald's for a week.
Just clogging up arteries.
Clogging it up. And I got sick that week. And to this day, every time I see a Big Mac, I get sick, I get triggered. I can't even look at it, let alone smell it.
Wow.
So, and that tells me that even though people define trauma as something huge, that's really that's trauma for me, because my nervous system has encoded Big Mac with equal being sick. And so I haven't dealt with that little bit of a trauma around Big Mac.
We need to do some hypnotherapy on that one.
And so I won't eat a Big Mac, because my body is like telling me that there's something bad about this. And that lets me know that's trauma.
Yeah.
That's trauma. And people look at me like, you being sick around, that's trauma. My body encoded that event as something adverse, something bad. And so every time I'm triggered, that lets me know there's some unfinished business there.
Nice. I like that unfinished business part. So in a most simplistic way possible, define trauma.
Trauma is nervous system dysregulation.
Oof.
That's the sentence. And it's not always wrapped up in the event, because two people can go through the same event. Like I always use the car crash example, that two people can go through the same event, fender bender. One person can walk away just fine, like, oh, nothing happened. But person B might be distraught, frazzled, because their nervous system may have not had the resources of person A. So that lets me know that it may not be the event, but it may be the nervous system is so dysregulated it couldn't handle the next thing. And so the car accident could have been the straw that broke the camel's back, and dysregulated, brought more dysregulation to an already fragile nervous system.
Wow. And so when we talk about the body holding trauma, and I kind of dived into it a little bit about some of the symptomatic symptoms that comes forward, what are some other things that indicate we're holding trauma in the body, kind of like the McDonald's story? What are some other things that people think, oh, I'm allergic to this, or I don't know why I'm super sensitive to that? What are some other things people can expect when you think about your body holding that trauma?
So I'm going to try to sum it up, because there's a lot.
Yeah.
But issues sleeping
Mhm.
too much, sleeping too little, having bathroom issues in your GI tract, going too much or going too little,
Mhm.
can be a symptom. Some people that have so much trauma built up in their system, they may have fibromyalgia,
Mm.
may have a lot of aches and pains going on because too much trauma also creates too much cortisol.
Mm.
So heart problems,
That's that belly fat, the
mhm,
cortisol. Mhm.
belly fat. I got some of that.
Me too.
I joke with people, I got some of that extra cortisol that I need to get off.
Mhm.
Because when our bodies get too much of that, because our bodies do need cortisol, but when there's too much in our system, it can lead to cancer. It can
Mhm.
lead to heart issues, issues just in our body, hormone dysregulation, a lot,
A lot.
in inflammation, and
Mhm.
oftentimes, I won't say all the time, but oftentimes the root of people's illnesses are probably because of trauma, and your nervous system has been off kilter so long that it hasn't been repaired, and
Mhm.
now this is your nervous system starting to break down, and these are the signs that it's starting to show.
And you know what's so funny about that is a lot of people don't even realize that they've been traumatized.
Mm-hmm.
I have clients who have said things like, "Oh, they touched me and it didn't feel good." And it's like, that's sexual violation.
Mm-hmm.
No, I wasn't traumatized. Oh, but you were. Let's talk about this history. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know the percentage of what it is that of trauma and how it impacts all of these other parts of your body. But I'm thinking somewhere around 90% of childhood trauma is actually correlated with all of these adult symptoms
Mm-hmm.
and illnesses that are taking place because it's undealt with trauma. And that's scary, though, the number of people that could ultimately die from a disease that could have been cured if they would have processed their trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you think about that, when you survive trauma, what are some survival responses that you can kind of share with people to expect as they eliminate the trauma, kind of like going to the bathroom and pooping out the trauma? What are some survival responses?
So coming out of trauma can be tricky
Mm-hmm.
because it can be a shock to the system because you don't want to come out of it too fast. You want to kind of take your time. So it may feel uneasy because you may have been in this space of where it has been dysregulation, but it's been comfortable. So when
Mm.
and it's been a space that you've known or you're used to. So if you've grown up in a space that was dysregulated, a bunch of trauma, even though it sounded, from the outside looking in, it looked dysfunctional, but
Mm-hmm.
that was your norm. So
Mm-hmm.
coming out of your norm into something different can be scary. So it can be a lot of hesitancy of like stepping into, oh, this is what healthy communication looks like.
Mm-hmm.
This is what setting boundaries look like. So it can feel a lot of uncomfortable feelings are happening because you're now trying to reprogram and rewire your brain
Mm-hmm.
to something different. So there can be a
Yeah.
lot of like, oh, I feel guilt, I feel shame because now I'm taking this different approach to healing, but other people around me aren't.
Mm-hmm.
So I will tell people it's not going to be just like a cute little walk in the park. There's going to be some tears.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be some pain.
Mm-hmm.
As far as not I won't say physical pain, but pain probably dealing with the past because we are going to go back and reprocess and talk about it. But also feeling just unfortunately guilt and shame. I can't say that it's going to be cute and nice. It may be some loops and some mazes going on before we reach the other side.
Absolutely. One of the things you mentioned is setting those boundaries. And one of the things I've found is clients become fearful when they're beginning to move out of their trauma with setting boundaries because they believe that people will reject them.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to a client who feels like they are going to be rejected because they're addressing their trauma?
Yeah. And I say, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what that rejection feels like, because that happens to a lot of us, where we feel like if I set boundaries, I'm going to be rejected. So we take the time to talk about not feeling responsible for someone else's reaction to you setting some healthy boundaries for yourself. And also, that is to be expected.
Yes.
Because I always use the analogy of, if we're constantly giving a baby candy every day at the same time and they're used to it, but here come Friday, we're like, no, we've been doing this probably for 6 months. Baby's expecting candy at 1 p.m. Every day. We take the candy away. That baby's looking around like, oh, no, you didn't. Now it's going to cry. It's going to throw a fit. It's going to try to do whatever it needs to do to get that candy back. So that's kind of like your boundaries. When somebody's used to just getting their way with you and you set that boundary, there's going to be some pushback.
Yes.
But it's going to be left up to you to maintain your boundaries and to see that there's going to be people that they may fall in line with your boundary. There's going to be people that may not talk to you again because they didn't get what they want from you. Exactly. Or there's some people that will respect your boundaries. And so you will learn a lot about people when you start trying to set boundaries with others, because they're no longer getting what they used to get from you.
Which is one of the things I like to tell my clients is it's okay to give yourself permission to set those boundaries. Sometimes we have to re-empower individuals to understand it's okay for you to heal. It's okay for you to give yourself that permission to cut people off if you need to. And it's okay. How would you encourage individuals to begin their journey to heal from trauma?
Encourage. So the encouragement comes through in regards to just looking at perhaps a different life and different perspective of like, what would you like your life to look like after working with me or going through therapy? And we look at those goals. So I try to keep my clients on task or on target by using their own goals. But also with the encouragement is seeing like you don't always have to deal with the pain of the trauma. You don't always have to stay in unhealthy situations. Work is gonna be a little tough, but I'm here to help you get through to the other side. It may be a little dark sometimes, but there is hope to being in healthier spaces and having a healthier relationship with self.
Yes.
And then having healthy relationships with others. So the encouragement is, yes, there's hope that things will be different and things will feel better towards the end of the light at the end of the tunnel, as I say.
Yeah. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Once you make the choice to choose you, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's not an easy light to get to. It does require work. I can tell you there is no sitting on the couch and we shaking our head and saying, okay, how does that make you feel? No, we work in therapy as long as you want to work, but don't be afraid of therapy. So tell me this, Shae, how can people get in contact with you, whether on social media, in your office, and tell us about upcoming projects that you have going on?
Yes, so website for therapy. I work with clients primarily in Georgia and Florida. HealingSpotATL.com is the website. On social media, Instagram, you can find me at Trauma Heal Her. So the ER on the end is the HER, so Trauma Heal Her on Instagram. And also I'll be speaking in, I think it's in Birmingham in September. under a board I'm a part of for nonprofit under Pearls of Esther. So we'll be going to Birmingham to go do a women's brunch, wellness brunch, so that we're going to be out there in September for those people who may be in Alabama or in that area. And I hope to also be working on some type of book or journals to help people rebuild that relationship with themselves, because that's where it starts, is first getting healthy within yourself so that you can have healthier relationships with other people.
Awesome. Shae, I want to say thank you so much for being the first guest on Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. You can find this episode and all episodes on any streaming app under Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. Go check out thehealingspot.com. Check out Trauma Heal Her, which is way cool. All right. Check her out. Shae always drops gems and nuggets. Know that it's okay for you to get the healing from past trauma. Your past trauma is not you. It was a part of who you are, but you don't have to live in that anymore.